All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It
Good
is
morning.
great seeing you all kind of join us here today. So this is another edition of our weekly real estate backstory. We do this every Monday morning at 9 o'clock where we are, and we kind of go over the comings, the goings, everything happening in the real estate world here in the Atlanta market. It's kind of how we like to kind of help you get started with your week and those kind of things. So we really appreciate you joining us. And we hope that you get a lot out of today. We kind of want to jump right into training. And so first thing is that, we got a lot of stuff going on this week.
A lot of happening.
Yeah, and which is great. Okay, we're very, very excited. So today we also starting at 11 o'clock, we have the Brian Buffini 100 Days to Greatness program. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. And then tomorrow we have our sales meeting, and that's going to be live in all of our offices at the same time. We're doing this live hybrid Zoom thing. It's going to be pretty cool. So everybody's going to be doing it. We have new agent awards going out, all that kind of stuff. So we're really excited about
Really
that.
Exciting. Absolutely. Yep.
Also on Tuesday, there's two other interesting things happening. We have building a CMA using Paragon, which is a virtual class. And then we also have a live interactive Zoom coming up with Ribbon. And it's Ribbon for FHA and VA buyers. And so we are going to have that recorded, and we'll try and add that to Real Estate Backstory as well. But just how to use some of these cash programs to help your buyers out. Then on Wednesday,
I'm teaching license law, y'all. So I know you have to have it for your renewal every 4 years. So please join me. Love to see you in our Conyers location. It's our newest one that we just opened. It's right behind Miller Mushroom or next Honey Bacon, as most of y'all know that location in Conyers.
So I hope you can join us live on that one, because we love live. We love in person. Now we understand the variance and that kind of stuff, but still, if you're available, it really is a lot. We try and make them very, very fun and interactive. So last thing is on Thursday, we have how to leverage business credit and get access to working capital. So Teresa McIntosh teaches that class. It is a Zoom class, a virtual class. So we hope that you will kind of join us for that. Yeah, absolutely. Now, also, we still have, now we mentioned earlier that we're starting the Brian Buffini, we started the Brian Buffini program last week. And if you weren't able to get in, please jump in one of our offices and go ahead and get caught up. We have the books that everybody has, and then every Monday at 11 o'clock, we are jumping in together as a group. Now, we can catch you back up, but we encourage you to jump in each of our offices, because every week we cover a module or two kind of things. Like last week, we went over launching your career in the working by referral system. This week, we're going to be covering creating a vibrant database. And again, we can catch you back up, but it requires that you kind of jump in and
this is nothing. This is nothing virtual. You have to be in our office to attend this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we got it. We purchased it to be able to do in our office, but we can't. If you want to do it online, you have to go to Buffini and buy it yourself, because that's
and it's a $500 program.
Yeah,
to buy it.
And you're more than welcome to it. We highly encourage you to do it if you want to do it that way. But if you want to kind of get it in office with us, then come on in, because there is no cost for that.
Well, what I find when you come in the office too, you guys can share techniques, thoughts, and what's working, what's not working. So it's much better than just attending online yourself with Buffini, but choice is yours.
Yep. Plus, we hang out afterwards, and we kind of go over the different action items, and then we go through a kind of an accountability process as well to try and keep us all motivated moving forward. So we hope that you'll join us, because we're very proud to be able to roll this program out. And so it really excites us to see folks really trying to grow their business.
And before we move on, just really quick, I want to give a shout out to Bill Miller at Burgess Title and Escrow. They're our affiliate partners, does fabulous job. It has very cooperative in changing time and stuff like that, especially during month end. So just if you wouldn't mind, support him.
And then, well, he helped cover some of the costs for the Buffini, so we're very appreciative of that. So
absolutely.
All right. So a week or two ago, the eviction moratorium expired, and President Biden said, "Hey, I don't really have the ability through the CDC
to place a moratorium."
But then he did anyway. So he's kind of saying one thing, doing another. He basically well, not basically, he just said, listen, by the time it goes through the courts, this thing will be over. So they've extended it through October 3rd and just kind of pushed it through. I'm not trying to get political with it. I'm really not, but we do need to know kind of what's going on out there with that, because this is a touchy subject in the real estate world, because we care about our landlords and we also care about the tenants. And so some things I kind of want to just kind of cover. First of all, is that there's a lot of real estate trade groups. So here, the Alabama Association of Realtors, as well as GAR, the Georgia Association of Realtors, along with all these other companies and commercial companies, everything, are really challenging the federal eviction moratorium and what's being done, and really kind of pushing it, because even Biden said, look, I don't have the rights to do this. And then, under pressure from his own party, he really had to go back and do it. But he doesn't really have the rights to do that. And it's not really healthy for, the vast majority of landlords are small individual landlords kind of thing.
And they are hurting because, we have instances where a tenant are applying for a system, but it's never reached the landlord.
Well, and that's kind of where our position kind of sits, is that, and they are also urged, like, a much larger rental assistance rollout. And so if you have, and I guess my problem is that here in Georgia, there's $425 million that have been promised rental assistance that's not gone anywhere. It's just sitting there collecting no interest, basically, kind of thing. So the federal government set aside $1.2 billion for the state of Georgia. And then they issued out $552 million. Of that $552 million, 425 million with an M is still left unspent. And there's another $437 million earmarked for Georgia that we haven't even bothered to get yet, because we already had so much money sitting in the account. So it's really hard to say, listen, we have to stop the eviction moratoriums. We have to do this when there's all this assistance that's going completely unheeded and unused. Now, if you have clients, and if you have friends that need assistance, I don't want to be cold-hearted, and I don't mean that at all, but I do believe in personal property rights. And so if you need it, georgiaassistance.ga.gov is one of the places where probably the number one place where you can direct clients, friends, that kind of stuff, to be able to go and get the assistance that they need.
Really quick, is that where system is spelled?
Oh, it is.
Okay, I was just curious. So the assistant is misspelled. Please add an I between S and T.
All right. So I just got busted for my typo, but it's really kind of true. Sometimes that's kind of how it goes. So, Georgia Rental Assistance, hopefully not with a not with a misspelled one, but Georgia Rental Assistance.ga.gov. That's pretty funny.
So please have your client check into it and see if they get any assistance during that through that program.
Now, also, if our area is primarily, the southern crescent, the south side of Atlanta kind of thing. And so we do have two counties that have programs down here. One is Clayton County. And so in Clayton, there's a Clayton Cares program, which is in addition to the Georgia Rental Assistance. They have one. And then Henry County also has one. So let me go back. So the Clayton Cares, if you go to relief.claytoncountyga.gov is where you can find the ones for Clayton County, the additional ones. In Henry, it's Henry, HENREY, ERAP, ERAP, to see if you're eligible for those programs as well.
And you can Google online for these assistants. This should pop up pretty quickly.
Yep. All right. So our rents are surging and our vacancies are falling for rentals. I mean, while we're talking about rentals, let's just kind of jump into the rentals. So nationwide, rents are up about 10% year over year. However, here in the Atlanta MSA, rents are up 14%, and they're not really going anywhere. I know a lot of folks, with the way that the buying market has been, that there's been an inclination to kind of wait it out. And our recommendation is that or maybe recommendation is the wrong word, but what you generally see on rental rates is rental rates follow between 3 and 12 months behind property values increase.
Right.
As property values increase, rents are going to increase as those rents are renewed, that kind of stuff. We have some landlords that are now taking $400, $600 increases over their previous tenants' rents. Folks who moved in, 2, 3 years ago kind of thing. And now, it's these massive upticks in rent. And so overall, we're seeing really high increases in rent throughout the entire Atlanta area.
Well, partially, if you think about it, if a tenant had to buy a property, what they're paying is not less than their mortgage, and also due to the valuation of property being increased, the tax is much higher along with the insurance. So therefore, that's one reason why landlords are justifying the increase, even though in a physical stance, there's no change to the property for a tenant perspective.
Yep, exactly. All right. We want to kind of go over and highlight some new buyer trends that are kind of, because we're seeing some shifting buyer trends that is really kind of interesting and definitely of note to realtors right now. And so right now, our prospective buyers are continuing to turn into active buyers at a much faster rate, but they're also looking for a much longer time. I mean, actively looking. So right now, so some of the interesting things here, right now there's about 17% of American adults that are considering a future home purchase. And so 61% have moved, 61% of those have moved from being just kind of, I'm thinking about it, to actively searching kind of thing. And so that share of active buyers has increased for the last year and a half. The percentage of buyers who move from thinking about it to actually engaging in the buying process, getting pre-approved for a mortgage, starting to really set up, property searches and that kind of stuff with the realtor partners, that kind of thing, that's continuing to increase. And so for us in the industry, we have to understand how these shifting buyer trends are going to impact what we need to be doing with our CRMs as far as engaging with clients and offering them the information. I mean, our buyers want property information. And so if you haven't gone out and set up property alerts for your clients, you're really doing them a disservice. Because what we've seen is, and I'll just share kind of the graphs here with you. So this is a share of buyers already actively trying to buy a home, not simply planning for it. And you can kind of see where that trend is being shifted up. It's actually at one of its highest levels ever kind of thing. And so
that's because the millennial and also the next generation actually buying at a much younger age versus the
much older age, actually. But a higher percentage of them. So our millennials are moving into that first-time buyer age. They're all about 28, 29. First-time buyer age is around 32. And so, and that's the largest generational piece right there. But we're seeing where more people are planning on it. Now, we do feel that a lot of this is due to price.
Right. Interest rate too. I mean, interest rate is all-time low right now.
Yeah.
And you can buy more house with a lower interest rate.
Yeah. So at the same time, this is how long folks are looking for a home. And these are active home buyers. And so you can see where in the past, active home buyers were generally something that it was really heavily under 3 months. You kind of focus on, I'm going to get in, I'm going to get in, I'm going to get in. I'm really going to focus on getting into a house. Well, now that time frame has really changed.
Shifted.
Excuse me. So it's very common for a lot of our buyers right now. Over 60% of them have been in active home search for over 3 months, and a lot of them 6 months even. That data is not on the screen, but that means a couple of different things for real estate professionals. First one is that used to be you had a hot buyer client and you were going to try and get them in a home, for a lot of realtors, if you don't get them in a home right away, they just kind of would get pushed to the side. Well, if you're doing that now, you're really doing your clients a disservice. We're seeing where the buying process is a much longer process right now. And so you have to build that into your client relationship panel, the models for how you're operating. It's not this short time frame. And a lot of buyers are not necessarily sitting on the fence. What we see is they're not sitting on the fence, but they're watching the market. They're looking for houses. They're looking for things in their price point. They're not going to take that overpriced listing or the ones that I'm sorry.
Well, it's
cutting you off.
okay. It's just like sellers. Selling want to maximize their sale price. Buyers, they want to maximize their house for the dollar they're spending. So it worked both ways. And you just got to find a happy middle medium and where both party agree to that price. So yeah, for most of your buyers right now, they're not in a hurry. They want to find the right property within the right price and the right move-in ready status.
And so we have to change how we deal with buyers. It's not the same as it was even 6 months ago. Our entire buyer process is a much longer, more exaggerated process. And if you're not building that into your business model,
Yep.
then it's going to cost you business.
Yep. Used to, we can turn a client around within 3 months. Right now, we're looking at anywhere minimum from 3 to 7 or 8 months. It depends on the buyer.
Yeah. Well, one other interesting trend is that the sales pipeline or the timeline for buyers to think about getting into being actively buying was somewhere between 2 and 6 months, and now we're seeing where it really is between 1 and 3 months. That deciding time is much shorter right now,
but the looking status is much longer.
Exactly.
So just I have one client. We started out probably back in March. And we were really actively looking, and then all of a sudden it came to screeching halt because the buyers, it was both husband and wife, couldn't decide what they wanted. And so now they're just taking their time and putting basically accumulate more cash once they understand what the market's doing. And so they won't be out of money and have some money for negotiation.
But stay in touch. Don't think that they're done. They're
Absolutely,
not done.
they're not.
So interest rates dropped again.
2.77.
I know that's a phenomenal rate for our buyers.
Right?
Again, when we're talking about renting and that kind of stuff, when you look at what is down, or what is up or down with mortgage rates, they really are holding very, very low.
Mm-hmm.
The influx of the Delta variant has really kind of got investors really kind of, and so one of the things is that they bought a lot more 10-year treasuries. That's kind of a lot of times the stock market, when they're unsure what's going to go on, they move into treasuries and bonds and things like that.
Those are guaranteed.
Yeah. And so we've seen where that rate is continuing to hold down. Now on the actual mortgage side, and here's the interesting thing, refis were down 2%, which doesn't make any sense because this is some of the lowest rates we've seen. Purchase applications were down 2% as well. And purchase applications are down almost 20% from a year ago. They're down 18% from a year ago. So for the buyers who are looking, like, now's a really good time to definitely, you can lock in this.
I think what happened is that a lot of buyers have already put their application in few months prior. So there's not as many, maybe down due to the fact that these are pre-qualified buyers. So we just don't, because there's no inventory, they're having to decide pull trigger. There's less application, but the buyer pool is still out there.
Yeah. So for the folks who are like, well, what about the, are we in a housing bubble, that kind of thing? Homeowner equity surged again, and it really does show how strong the housing market really is. The proportion of mortgage homes that were equity rich in the second quarter of 2021, 1 in 3, was up 31% from the first quarter of 2021. And so we're seeing where more and more homeowners are equity rich in their household. When you compare that to where we were in 2008, it's night and day, pretty much different kind of thing. And so when people are like, well, this is a bubble, this is going to go down, the signs really don't. Signs are actually that the housing market is extremely strong. At the same time, Fannie Mae reported that single family serious delinquencies, these are properties that have been that are 4 months behind, decreased to 2.8% in June, and that's down from 2.24 in May, and that's down from like 2.6 last year, kind of thing. And that 2%, that's not 2% of all U.S. households. No. 40% of the houses of all households in the United States are mortgage free.
Mm-hmm.
So really that 2%, that's 2% of 60% kind of thing, which really makes it, closer to 1.2 of the total housing market. And that is on scale, a really, 1% of inventory is not a big deal when we deal in the volume of houses that we're really talking about. And so when people say, well, how many homes are coming on foreclosure? What's going to happen with the foreclosure? What happens when these eviction moratoriums are over? What happens when listen, the number of folks who are seriously delinquent is like at a record low. Even with COVID, even with all the things going on, this is a really small deal. If 70% of them were to actually go into foreclosure, which they won't, then that only adds like 4 days to our standing inventory.
Right.
So don't think that
there may be some that's coming out, but just remember, with the buy pool out there, as many as they are, everybody's competing on those foreclosure properties.
Yeah.
And the best thing about Fannie and Freddie Mac product is that they give owner occupant first priority before investors.
Yep. Now, as far as the economy goes, the U.S. economy surpassed the pre-pandemic size. And for Q2, we saw 6.5% growth, which is like
phenomenal.
That's the kind of stuff you see coming out of a war, historically, kind of thing, to see the economy grow that way. This is kind of a visual representation of really what's kind of going on with real GDP. And so this is kind of a 4-year trend where you can see what was the GDP output for the United States. And so you can see that it had been positive
based on the graph.
Yeah. Up until COVID hit. And then we had 1 quarter where it was a little bit down.
Well, everybody got sick, and everybody, if you remember last year, about a couple months back, when COVID hit, all the production just kind of went a halt because nobody knew much about this virus or how to handle it properly. So once the second quarter is over, where we kind of initially got over the COVID procedure and policy, Q3, you see the spike where the production came back, and Q4 as well, and first quarter January of 2021 as well as 2022 second quarter 2021.
Yeah, you can see, compared to where we've been running, our GDP is significantly higher than it has been in the last 4 years, even, kind of thing. So that's a really positive sign for our economy. There is a lot of things going on that side of things. Consumer confidence at the same time is also way up. On here, you can kind of see from the 2017 graph again. Kind of where we're at on there. As far as our consumer confidence is also looking really, really high. We're seeing more and more people spending big money on these things and feeling comfortable about spending. At the same time, I'm going to say at the same time about 15 times today. U.S. hiring was up in July. So we grew 943,000 jobs in July. That's one of our biggest increases in recent memory, kind of thing. That drove the overall unemployment rate down to 5.4%. That doesn't count the folks that have not been long-term, that have given up finding a job. But overall, that 5.4 is a really good number. Jobless claims also fell for the second week in a row, and layoffs hit its lowest level in 21 years. So we're seeing where more and more jobs are really out there on the market, and a lot of our buyers are out there continuing, not buyers, but Americans are out there.
Well, and also I think part of surge in GDP production is due to increase in minimum wage. A lot of places are offering much higher minimum wage, and therefore it's is making an impact in spending dollars and what have you.
Yeah. All right. So home price growth in the U.S. hit 17.2% annual in July. You're going to see this number kind of going on out there, and it is kind of scary when you look at 17%. But a lot of that is coming with. Sorry. Oh, she was stretching like I thought she's kicking. So, but a lot of that is we're coming around to a full year versus COVID last year. And so this is at the point when prices start to jump up last year. And so we are really expecting this to kind of be the peak. This is kind of the pinnacle. At this point, things were just really starting to crank back up last year. And so now, starting over the next few months, we're going to start seeing where pricing compared to prior year and where that percentage increase year over year is going to start moving down into the single digits. As a matter of fact, it's even started this past week, and we'll cover that. Overall, CoreLogic expects that in 2022, we're only going to look at a 3% increase in year over year. And I think that is much more sustainable, and we'd really like to see that there. This is some new information that came out from Realtor.com, and they track every single week what's going on with listings and properties. And so we love kind of tracking this data. And there's 3 data points I really want to highlight to you. First thing is that, days on market are still ridiculously low. Days on market are 18 days less on market than they were this time last year. And so we've seen where that number continues to keep falling. That is a negative trend. At the same time, we're seeing where listings on the market continue to increase. And this is week over week. So 3 weeks ago, new listings were 9% more than the week before. Last week, 2 weeks ago, listings were 9% more than that week. This past week, listings are up 5% over that. So we're seeing more and more listings. Hopefully that will equate into a little bit more average days on market. But here's the great thing. Median list price is now back down into single digits. You can see where median list price have been running in the double digits for the last several weeks. For the first time in, I can't remember it's coming up on 10 months, 11 months, where
it's under one digit.
It's into a single digit. It's under double digits. And so seeing that come down, that's something that we've kind of felt really needed to happen. No one's making 15, 17% more than prior years. So seeing that move into more normal territory, that's kind of what we see going on.
Yep.
At the same time, the National Association of Realtors also has this pending home sales index. And so you can kind of see, like, over the past year, we're pending sales. And so we're going up against, when we look at this on an annualized data, you can see that our fall last year was probably the best fall, we've ever seen, and so we are heading into that. We are starting to see some more normal trends. So even though like you'll see that May and June is down from May a little bit, this is volume. This is the number of transactions. This is not based on dollar amount. And so we are seeing where the number of transactions has not been fulfilling it. And it's mainly due to availability as well as price.
Correct.
So, and this one very, very interesting. And this is a great data point out there to be sharing. So there was a study done by Bright MLS, and so it's a really big MLS up in Pennsylvania, Virginia, that kind of stuff. And they studied like 500,000 homes, so a really large sampling size here. And they found that homes listed in the MLS sell for 17% more than homes that were either sold either A as pocket listings or B as for sale by owners. So,
and we have one instance where that has happened with one of our friends who decided to list with us, where his neighbor did a for sale by owner, and my friend has much smaller square footage, sold for $2,000 more than the for sale by owner product.
Yeah, I mean, but
so
price
this
per
is
square
a
foot was
good,
nowhere close.
And this is a good selling point for all your listing agent out there. Let them know this is a collected data. This is not something we made up or what have you. That 6% more than justify the 17% increase by doing for sale by owner.
Actually, in all honesty, though, it really isn't a difference of because sorry, I'm babbling here. So homes that are listed in the MLS sell for 17% more. And so when you take off that 6%, you can say, okay, it's 11%, but that's not really true, because the majority of for sale by owner homes still have one agent involved, and almost all of something like 92% of for sale by owner homes still have one agent
True.
involved. So really you're talking about the difference between, not between 17 and 11, you're talking the difference is more 14%.
Correct.
So almost 15% more if you'll list with an agent and put it in the MLS and property market your home. The reasons for this is twofold. One is that, folks who don't put it in the MLS don't truly know how much their home is worth. That they didn't use a professional realtor or real estate professional who's gonna pull CMAs and check and really know their values. They're just pulling things on Zillow and Zestimate and Redfin and that kind of stuff. And the second is that they're not getting that marketing exposure out there into the marketplace. The people who buy for sale by owners are normally really good negotiators. And however, the folks who do for sale by owner are really poor negotiators. So,
And they seller have a lot of noise in the background. They always get advice from their friends and family, what they do on research on the internet. That's all wonderful, but I will tell you, when they hear a certain opinion, it's all one-sided. They don't understand the intricacy behind all the conversations. So therefore, they look at it very, very blindsided point of view, and thinking that's how it applies to their situation, and that may not be the case.
And we love to be able to share true, real data. I don't like make up numbers and that kind of stuff. And this is a really large sampling size that we see really pushes through kind of thing. So NAR came out with a realtor technology survey, and it's actually pretty interesting, and it opened my eyes to a couple of things. And so I'll be honest with you, a lot of it is like, it looks like it was written by a lawyer. Okay, it's a lot of it's data that we just don't need. We plucked out like the gems here kind of thing, because some of it's kind of rough. And so we went back and so NAR went and they polled realtors and said, what's the most valuable technology tools used in your business? And so e-signature, of course, that one's huge. The local MLS, social media, lot boxes. But look at where video conferencing is. The last time, video conferencing, Zoom and that kind of thing, didn't even make the list last time this was done. And now nearly 40% of realtors say that it is really important. Unfortunately, only about 37% of realtors actually say that a CRM, a client relationship management system, is really important. Okay, take it from me, it should be 100% of us should feel that that's really important kind of thing.
Well, a lot of CRM are so complicated and so sophisticated, it's hard to maneuver and maximize its usage. So
Still.
I understand, but it's about, investing in your craft. If you invest in your craft, I promise you'll go much quicker and get more done in little amounts of time.
Yep. Now, what is the emerging technology that realtors are expecting to be really important over the next 2 years? The number one thing was drones, which I found to be really interesting. Now, a lot of our photographers are already using drones in their photography and that kind of stuff. We see our home inspectors using it for roofs and that kind of thing. So that's kind of interesting. Cybersecurity made the second item on the list, which is really interesting because that didn't really make the list at all in past years. 5G, of course, we all want faster internet and all that. Virtual reality, 30%, and I'm really skeptical on that. We still have agents that are trying to figure out how to work the MLS. So thinking that we're getting into virtual reality, I think is kind of a stretch there.
Once again, education.
Yeah, and then AI. Now, this next one talks about cybersecurity and cybersecurity insurance. And I'm not trying to necessarily throw a plug out here for us, but this is one that like our E&O insurance, if you're a Maximum One agent, our E&O insurance includes cybersecurity insurance kind of thing. It covers up to $100,000. If your email gets hacked, they'll either defend you or they'll pay up to $100,000 if your email gets hacked. And so that's a really big deal. What really struck me is that, first of all, only 17% of realtors are covered by cyber insurance. 21% know they're not covered. 63% of realtors have no idea. Like they're like totally oblivious, just licking windows, right? I don't know why why you wouldn't want to know this. And so, if you are with Maximum One, know that you have it. If you have any questions, reach out to us or to any of our brokers, kind of thing. But if you don't know, find out. That's a really, really big deal. What happens if your email gets hacked? And we don't hope that happens, but it is,
It happens.
It happens, kind of thing. Luckily, it hasn't happened to us. We've been really, really blessed by that. And I feel very thankful that we haven't actually had to use that insurance. But just knowing that it's there, that's a huge benefit. And if you don't know, you really should, kind of thing. Now, what about social media? What's the most important social media? 90% of realtors are on Facebook. Not a real surprise there, because you can't go on Facebook without bumping into a realtor. I got that. However, only half of agents use Instagram. And also another half, only half of realtors use LinkedIn. And that's like the business to business relationship king out there. 24%, 1 out of 4 uses YouTube. And so, like, we think that there's some great opportunity in there. We're not huge fans of Twitter, not because we don't necessarily like it, but
it's very limited in space and characters without a link to a website.
Yeah. So, that's kind of, for informational purposes there. Now, what about, speaking of, we just mentioned YouTube and video kind of thing. And so, what percent of realtors use video in their marketing? Only 37% of realtors use it. So basically 1 out of 3 is using video, but video is huge and folks want video.
Well, with COVID time, if you think about, this is how people can connect with you with name with a face. So when you don't use it, they don't know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, there's another third of realtors that are fixing to use video, and then there's another third that like, no, I'm not going to do it. So if you want to stand out as a listing agent, should you use video? Yes or yes?
I will tell you that for some of the realtor that has a lot of referral, they don't feel like that's part of their marketing strategy, and that's fine. And we all practice differently. Just because we practice this way doesn't mean you have to. We all have different personality. I get it. So, but what we do want to bring out is that what's working and what's not.
So I am a little jaded. I do believe heavily in video. So I think that the big
that's why
reason
we're doing this.
Yeah, that's why we do this. Well, but for most folks, when it comes to video, it's that they're just intimidated and they're worried how they look. And don't get me wrong. We were completely the same way. I do a video.
Time is very nerve-wracking, but just think about it. They're gonna like you regardless if you did it really smooth or if you muck up with the typing of assistance. But we all get it, okay?
Well, and for me,
it just makes you human.
Well, for me with video, I had this big epiphany because I would record a video and then I would be like, oh my goodness, look at all the gray hair, and he's got wrinkles, and his beard is all gray, and he sounds like, and I sound like Cooter Brown, and they say video adds 10 pounds. Wrong. It's the cheeseburgers that add the 10 pounds. And really, it just struck me one day that, gosh, guys, guess what? This is me every day. And so if you don't like me on video, you're not gonna like me in person either. So just throw it out there and don't be afraid of it. Don't let that intimidate you. So
not all of us can be a Kardashian. Yeah. There we go.
But we can all put our information out there.
Absolutely.
So iBuyers are in our market, and they're in our market big. But
yes.
When I say big, that's one of the things I want to point out right here is that, iBuyers are increasing their purchases, and now they're back to where they were before the pandemic. And they take up a lot of oxygen in the real estate space. But when you look at it, what are the percentage of shares of homes bought by iBuyers? In the Atlanta market, 2%. Okay. For sale by owners is 4%, right? And so, are iBuyers in a market? Yes. Do we need to be aware of what's going on and how they affect our market, our industry? Absolutely. But, they represent 2% of our marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our sellers are not going to be like, and I'll be glad to take less money. There are some folks where that's going to be, where speed is going to be much more important for them. And if that's them, that's okay. They're going to be in our marketplace. But at 2% of our marketplace, I'm not saying we shouldn't be aware of that. But when you look at other things like take Zillow, for example. Zillow just released their earnings and Zillow made money. Yay for Zillow. But guess where they made their money on? They made their money on, yeah, that's it. They made their money at selling referrals to realtors. Guess what they lost money on? iBuyers. They lost a lot of money on iBuyers, but they overall did well because they're selling marketing to realtors.
Them.
Yeah, basically, yeah, we are. Now, I want to talk about new construction here. And you may see some of these things coming up in the headlines. Like this is the headline from MSNBC, you know, the housing boom is over. New home sales fall to pandemic low. And it really, and there are, I'm not saying that the numbers aren't right. I'm saying that the interpretation is skewed. And so I kind of wanted to go through these and kind of address what we really see going on. We've been talking to our builders and our builder partners about what's going on and how things are happening out there. And so overall, you know, sales of new single family homes fell, and they fell to 6.6 below May's rate. And in part, there's a couple of reasons for that. Well, let me cover all the three main data points kind of thing. The median price of new home sales. Thank you. They only went up from 6% over 2020, and the inventory dropped to a 5.5 month supply, or 6.3 month from 5.5 month. And so, you know, what's really going on in housing? I mean, in new construction out there. And so the first thing is that the builders kind of know what's going on. The builders are aware that they're getting priced out of the market. The builders are also having some really big supply issues, as well as pricing issues out there. And so we've been, we have builders that are having employee shortages. They're also having a ton of material shortages, as well as a lot of their costs have really been through the roof. And so when those things happen, they pull back. You know, D.R. Horton just released, you know, the president of D.R. Horton came out and said, listen, we've been constricting on purpose. Okay. We needed to get our supply chain right. We needed to pick up more inventory of lots that we could use. We also have been looking at other things that we can do to help lower the cost, because the builders know that they are pricing themselves out of the market. But the good news here is that, first of all, futures are coming back down to reality. Okay. It's really nice to see. And so now lumber futures generally take 2 to 3 months before we actually see it on the shelves of Home Depot and Lowe's, as well as when the builders actually can see it to put it on there. And so this is what's happening on the futures market for lumber. And so lumber prices are coming back down into the realm of reasonable. It went up to almost $1,600 per 1,000 board foot at one point. And so it's back down, which is still high, but nowhere near really where it was. At the same time, you know, we see, you know, overall people are like, oh, look, single family permits are down, but single family starts have been heavily increasing. And you can also see, okay, single family permits are down, but the builders did that on purpose. They're trying. They
want to make sure that they're building a product that is sustainable as well as affordable, while they get their inventory pipeline in correction.
Yeah. So we know that a lot of the builders are being very, or not proactive. But they're concerned about price. They know that it's easy for them to price themselves out of the market right now. Because in the Atlanta area, you know, new construction, you know, where the bulk of our new construction is well into the threes, if not 350 and greater kind of thing. And that's pretty tough place to be, especially when our greatest amount of demand is below that price point. The builders are working to get there. And if they need to take a month or two and try and get their act together, I'm all for it, because we need some realistically priced and more average priced homes to be able to put on the market. So really, that's about all we have today. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope this was a positive experience for you, and that we provided some value. If we can be of any kind of service, we always hang out afterwards at max1.rocks/chat. And I did not misspell that one. And so we hope that you can join us there. If you have any questions, feel free to join us on there. Please have a great week, get a lot of stuff done, and I hope to see you in one of our offices here at 11 o'clock for the
Absolutely. Buffini. And also check out the the ribbon program Tuesday. Thank you. Have a great Monday.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.